Fantastic Friday because it's the end of this week. Oh my gosh. It was like 10 days this week. This week was 10 days. It's Fantastic Friday because it's the end of this week. Oh, Lord. Our internet went down yesterday in the middle of a class. Kane and I got it back up working thanks to Kane and his wisdom and my little tips here and there. Anyway, we figured out how to continue because if we can't continue, everybody that was there for 2.5 hours wouldn't have gotten credit. So yay, we did it. And this morning we're still working on it, but I think it's back up again. CenturyLink was down in 3 states. Biggest outage I have ever known. We have never had an outage at our business building, 8400 West Sahara, that lasted more than a half hour or a half a day. I think one time years ago when we were switching from one bandwidth to another, but that was it. So we've been blessed. And I heard Cox Cable or Cox Internet was out too this week. So not sure what's going on in that world. Speaking of, I'm going to do a quick check. Hopefully everybody had a great week. We are really busy in the rental market. And of course, renters eventually turn into buyers. And right now, I field a lot of the calls sometimes. And speaking of, I'm going to do, okay. Yeah, I'm on. Anyway, I field a lot of the calls. And yesterday I had like 3 or 4 that I fielded. And these people say, well, I want to rent, but I really want to buy, but the interest rate went up. So, I have to wait. And these people are golden. These are your buyers next year. So, don't discount the renters because a lot of them are not buying right now because of the interest rates. Okay, what's going on here in our market? Another day in paradise in sunny Las Vegas, and I walked the dogs this morning instead of working out at the fitness center, and it was gorgeous. Oh my gosh, it was under 80, and there was a little bit of a cloud cover. Oh, it was heaven. And I don't think it's going to get that hot today either, so I'm really, really jazzed. Don't ask me why a Georgia girl came to Nevada when she doesn't like the heat. I guess I didn't like the humidity and the fleas and the ticks and the rain. So it was a pro and con, right? A Ben Franklin. Okay, so we have 109 days of inventory. That's been kind of the story for the past couple of weeks. It fluctuates a little bit. We did list 216 homes yesterday, and that's huge. That gives us 94 that were just listed under 450 and under, and 2,691 homes that are for 450 and under. 450, slow down, Ruth. That's 2,691 available single-family homes that are 450,000 and under. So do your math with your mortgage lender or your mortgage calculator to determine, what the sweet spot is for how much money people need to make with just even before their debt service. So that you can help the people that maybe you're working with. And there's a buy down for 10,000. And I'm going to continue to say this. You can get your sellers who have equity in their homes. Unless they bought this year, they, at 470, which they probably didn't. Anyway, median price I'm speaking about. But the point is that they bought last year, they bought 2 years ago. They do have equity, and it's all paper. It's all on paper. It's like the chips in a casino. They give those to you because they don't want you to associate the gambling with money, just chips. So that's kind of like the equity that people have in their homes. It's paper. It's like in the stock market. It goes up and you think you're rich, and it goes down tomorrow and you're not as rich. So it's just paper. So get your sellers to contribute $10,000 to buyers, especially in that 450 price range that want to buy, the first-time home buyers that can contribute $10,000 as a buy down of the interest rate so they can qualify. And lenders are coming out with more and more of these programs. Bank America came out with a program for minority groups where they don't have to make a down payment. And you might want to Google that and get the details on it. So we're selling 59 homes per day. That's condos, townhomes, single-family homes, and high-rises. Versus last year, we were selling 159. So we've cut our production in half. We've cut our commission checks in half, and just making you aware of that. because if you're not farming, planning, and don't have a business plan and don't work your database, it could get pretty bleak this winter, everybody. You've got to get on the phone. You've got to do your pop buys. You've got to do your personal notes. You've got to do your postcards or your letters with items of value. Don't be just selling. Just give people something. And you might say, oh, but I need a commission check today or tomorrow or next month. Well, it doesn't happen that fast. But in January, you're going to need a commission check too. I always tell everybody, hey, I'm going to eat next year, so I might as well work today, and work as hard as I can, and at least start putting things in the pipeline. And having a farm and sending things to that farm, communicating with that farm. If you have a farm that's not a gated community, you should be doing pop buys. You should be, knocking on doors there and striking up conversations, telling people how the market is. Well, production is down, but it may be a good time to sell because there's a lot of new programs that perhaps buyers that need mortgages can take advantage of. So learn your story that you're going to tell. You have to have a story before you can have a strategy. So get your story straight, get your state of mind straight, be positive, and then you then work your strategy. So that's my tip for the day. The investors are out there still buying. We did a little bit yesterday with Jimmy on the investors and the spreadsheet that's available with your agent formula website. I always have to push it, everybody, because I make my money off my websites. And that's why we continue to improve it and give it value so that you have videos and you have the communities and you have the search option and all these, what's my home worth and the nosy neighbor, all these tools that you can use to send out to your sphere of influence. And we even have a CRM in the back of it, so you can load it up, import it in, and then automatically the blog will be sent to them every month. And that's the Las Vegas Market Watch, which is telling people on one shot what's happening in the market at that moment. So, and people love it. So anyway, I digress a little bit because I have to push my product. The other thing is that we have social media, our social media mega group meeting this morning. I'll be out of here in a minute to host that with Kane. And today we're talking about Google business pages. I'm going to show you a little preview that Jason Pantana did. It takes 5 minutes. And then if I don't say goodbye to you because I've got to go, I will see you Monday, and we will continue with, the status of the market, plus some social media tips and some tips for building your business. Before I put Jason on, one of the things that I came across that I thought was really good: life is like a camera. Focus on what's important, capture the good times, develop from the negatives, and if things don't work out, take another shot. I like that. I like that bit of trivia, if you will, but I like it. Okay, let's listen to Jason for 5 minutes, and then I will be on my white horse down to the office, which takes 8 minutes. And here we go. I'm going to mute myself and get.
Let's dive into the topic of Google business pages, because I wanted to focus here. We've never really had someone come on that's been able to give tips and coaching on Google business. It's obviously something that's hot right now. There's an opportunity, and I've loved your stuff that I've seen on it. Could you walk people through, well, one, what is it, and where should they be focused when you're thinking about Google?
Yeah, so Google business pages, as of a week ago, they were called Google My Business Profiles. And in fact, it's worth noting there's been a long history of name changes for this product. It was at one point called Google Local, Google Plus Local, Google Places, Google My Business, and now it's Google Business Page. I'm pretty sure it just has to do with somebody comes in, there's a new director, and they want to leave their stamp on something, so they change the name for no apparent reason. So look what I made. I made Google My Business, whatever. It's called Google Business Pages. What it is basically a profile for every local business. So Google's got a huge challenge. They're a search engine, but they're supposed to be able to magically pull out of a hat the perfectly tailored search based upon the intent of whatever search you as a Googler put in the browser. Whether that search is of macro global intent, whether that search is of local intent, Google is supposed to decipher, oh, they mean something local. And so that's a big challenge of theirs is how do I serve up the most relevant results, whatever the search is? And so when it comes to one of their huge, like a huge search volume on Google is local intent searches. They're looking for restaurants. They're looking for plumbers. They're looking for tree cutting services. They're looking for doctors and attorneys and real estate professionals and insurance agents and any kind of a local practitioner, local business footprint. They're looking for it on Google. And so that Google business page, again, Google My Business Network has become basically the listing, the yellow pages of all those businesses. Yellow pages being a reference back to the 90s for those who had phone books. I am aware that a large part, like probably people are like, what's a yellow page? I'm sure there's many. It's a directory of all businesses. So when you set up a Google business page, you can simply like make sure you're logged into the right Google account. So like there's a lot to know about this. You probably have a dozen Google accounts, a Gmail, a G Suite, or whatever. Make sure that you're logged into the one that you want to be logged into because whichever one that is the primary owner of the Google business page. So you're logged into Google and then you go to business.google.com/create. You make your profile. And just for reference, these are the profiles that will pop up. If you do a search for best realtor nearby, you'll see results. If you search for, like, I'm thinking of clients of mine, Far Group Northwest out in Spokane, Washington, their Google My Business page will pop up on the right-hand sidebar. It'll have photos. It'll have their address. It'll have a phone number. It'll have reviews and all that kind of stuff. Whenever you're reading reviews about somebody, it's actually their Google business page on which those reviews are published. If you do a search for like restaurants nearby in Google Maps, once again, every little red pen that you're seeing is a Google business page. So really, Google business page is a network of all local businesses here, there, and everywhere. They display in Google search. They display in Google Maps. And there's one more spot they display, which is where the real strategy lies, is in what's called the Google Local Pack. Google's Local Pack, this is going to be a little bit technical to describe in words without showing them. But if you've ever done a search for like, I don't know, best cup of coffee nearby, something like that, you're going to see probably ads at the very top of the page. But then you'll scroll down and you're going to see this little sliver of map inside the search results, not Google Maps, Google search, this little sliver of map. And then you're going to see 3 listings underneath it. That's called Google's Local Pack. It's a section of the actual search results page where it will position the top 3 profiles based upon that search that it thinks you might be looking for to try to get you to look at their page and call them or message them or navigate to their website. Does that all make sense so far?
No, yeah, it makes 100% sense.
That's what it is. So it's a network. They can show up in lots of different spots. Search, Local Pack, Maps. I forget what else you asked beyond just what is it. We've defined what it is at this point.
Well, I would ask you like, because that's fantastic, right? Why? So, where can an agent go? What should they be doing? Because one of the pain points I see is when you Google, like, let's say for my brother, right? And he's a real estate agent in Virginia.
Cool.
When you Google realtors or real estate in Lynchburg, Virginia, where he's at, there are tons.
Dude, do you know I grew up there?
No way. Lynchburg, Virginia?
That's my hometown.
No way, man.
What's your brother's name?
Stephen Acree.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I grew up there. That's my hometown.
Dude, that's wow. That's where he lives right now, right? So he went to Liberty University. So that's so funny. That is crazy, man. We have a lot to talk about. So I grew up an hour from Lynchburg.
Okay, nice.
Yep. So I grew up in
total
side note. Everybody's like, all right, guys, get to the point. But no, this is really fascinating. But anyway, so there's a ton of real estate agents, right, that pop up.
Yeah.
And so, how does Steven go about trying to move his profile up in what comes up in search? What are some of the tactics there that he can do?
So I'm going to get technical on you for a second. So let's go back to how your profile can rank in searches. One is somebody types in his name directly, and his name has enough location authority that Google has now learned to associate his business profile with the search of his name. Now, what's his last name again?
It's Acree, A-C-R-E.
It's your name. Sorry, Stephen Acree. Sorry. Okay, so like let's say I type in Stephen Acree. I may just get links to Instagram, Facebook, or something like that. But if I type in Stephen Acree, Lynchburg, Virginia, that geo modifier of Lynchburg, Virginia might be enough juice for Google to make the association. Oh, they want the business listing. So like location authority is basically, it's not something you can capture in a bottle per se, but it's over time with more reviews, more posts, more SEO, all things pointing to as Google gains confidence that when people are looking for you, they mean the business. So that's one thing. if somebody types in his name directly, he should rank if his profile is set up right. But he's not competing against anybody else unless his name was like Stephen Smith. Then he might be competing. The other way, though, is on job description searches. So best realtor nearby, real estate agents, Lynchburg, Virginia. Those types of search phrases are way harder to compete on. And where the competition will go is in the local pack. So like, again, if they just typed in his name, Lynchburg, Virginia, it's going to be that right-hand panel where it's got the photos, the maps, the link to his website, the reviews, and it's just his. That's called the knowledge graph. That's what they call that on Google. If it's best realtors, Lynchburg, Virginia, it's going to be the local pack, that sliver of map, 1, 2, 3 results, basically. How does he rank there? Well, there was a study done last year by, I think it was Bright Local or one of the big, there's a bunch of like local SEO companies, mostly based in Toronto, strangely. And they did a study on what are the top ranking signals that Google is actually algorithmically looking for when it decides which of those profiles rank. And there are some variables you can't control. Like, for example, your proximity to where the search went down. So if somebody looks for best realtor nearby and they're literally a block away from Stephen's office, which is listed as his physical address, he's going to do well in that search simply because of that proximity, unless there's somebody else whose SEO is so freaking amazing, they surpass him. So that's the first thing. Things he can control. One, business categories. So your Google Business page. I'm getting used to it. It gives you what's called a primary category and then secondary categories. The way you should know which primary category, because this is the number one ranking signal, it matters. The way you should decipher which one should I use real estate agencies, real estate agent, real estate consultant? Which one's my first primary category? What you should do is in your market, open up like an incognito browser on Google, something like that, and start running the searches that you want to rank on. Best real estate agent nearby, best real estate agent or best realtor in Lynchburg, Virginia, blah, blah, blah. And right above that sliver of map in the local pack, there will be all black text, slightly large, and it will state the name of the category that it's prioritizing. So if you do a search for best realtors nearby, it may still prioritize real estate agencies. If you do a search for best real estate agent nearby, it may prioritize real estate agencies over real estate agents. Whichever one it tends to go with the most is your primary business category. Does that make sense?
Yeah, super interesting. Okay, yeah. Super interesting.
Now, there's some of these categories are different. Like Canada is different than the U.S. on some of these things. They change a little bit over time. I've seen a couple of markets in the U.S. where realtor is actually a category. Like San Francisco, it's a category. I don't know why. Why.
That's what I was going to ask is why? Yeah. Why is that? You would think Google controls that, but I guess.
Yeah, they do. But they've acknowledged like this is an updating thing over time. So this is something to look at from time to time. You don't want to change it like every week, but like every year do an audit perhaps, just see like, hey, is this still the most relevant result? So like your primary business category, and then you get to choose secondary categories. I would choose a couple more. So if you chose real estate agencies as the primary, choose real estate agent, real estate consultant as secondaries, because that will help you rank on those types of search phrases.
Okay.
That's the first thing. Does that make sense?
Yep, that makes sense. Yep.